No need for now. Right, test one.
Hi, my name's Matt Widgery from Matt Widgery Photography. Today I wanted to respond to a comment that was put on Facebook about the video that I made yesterday that's just been posted about my thoughts on the X Pro 2. It was a comment that, although I totally understand where it was coming from, I felt needed to be addressed because this is by somebody who's incredibly influential within the Fuji sphere, and I just think that a little bit of rounding out of the opinion that he has about that video that I made might be beneficial to other people that are, that are thinking about getting a camera. So this is a comment by Kevin Mullins. If you don't know his work, and I'm a huge fan of Kevin Mullins, he is, I would say, if not the best, he's definitely one of the best wedding photographers on the planet. His documentary style manages to capture moments that are so wonderful, and his ability to shape mood and emotion with his pictures is just incredible. That's why he's one of the best in the business. He uses exclusively now Fuji cameras, and he's an official Fuji X photographer. And after I posted the video yesterday, and by the way, I made clear in the video, if you haven't already seen it, that's the link there. So go and have a look at that. Otherwise, you won't know what the hell I'm talking about. But go and have a look in that, and you will see that in that video, I clearly say this is not a review of the camera. I haven't held one in my hands. This is my opinion based as a professional photographer who owns and uses an X Pro 1 and an XT1 about whether or not I think that the features are things that I would use and would spend money on to get that X Pro 2. And then I go through my opinions on that. Kevin wrote in the comments on Facebook to that video, I'm not really sure you can have much of a valid opinion on this unless you've actually used the camera TBH he puts, which I guess is to be honest. How can you possibly know if it's worth it or not? And I guess where Kevin's coming from, and it's a valid opinion if this is the case, and I don't know because I can't get inside his head. But I guess his opinion is that, unless you've actually sort of tried a camera out, then what business have you really sort of sharing your opinion on it? Isn't it really down to the people that have actually held the thing in their hand? Shouldn't you wait until you've had one in your hand before you talk about it? Well, I totally get that opinion, but the other thing that you have to remember, Kevin, and anybody else that is thinking along the same lines, is that I am a Fuji customer. I pay for my cameras from Fuji, much like millions of other people around the world do. And we have opinions based on, because none of us, apart from the Fuji X photographers and a few reviewers, but the vast majority of people who are looking to get that camera haven't held it in our hands yet because they're not available. They won't be available for another couple of months. So we have to make our opinions based on the specifications of the camera and based on our experience. And I think that if you have experience using multiple Fuji cameras, as in professional situations, pushing them to their limit, you understand the Fuji system to a pretty good degree because of that and because of having shot them for a couple of years, and having looked through the specifications on there and knowing what you would like to see on the cameras that you have already, and then looking at the spec sheet about the one that's going to come out, to shape some form of opinion around that to determine whether or not it's something that you want to spend your money on. Because I have a YouTube channel, I have a platform where I can spout this stuff. Now, it's entirely up to anybody else out there whether or not they listen to it, whether or not they take my opinions on board. But if you are completely new into the Fuji system, or you have a Fuji camera already and you're just trying to round out your thoughts about where you want to go next, maybe you have an XT10 or an XE2 or one of the original like XE1 or X100s or an X Pro 1, what do you do with it now? And is there something missing in what you're doing now that you would benefit from in getting the next camera? Or although there are a bunch of features on the next camera that are good and they're improvements over the existing one, are they things that would genuinely make a difference to you? And so I'm giving my opinions for me, navigating my way through that in that last video and saying these are the specs that I really like, and weather sealing is one of those. One of the things I didn't mention in the last video because I completely forgot about it because I was ranting about the tilty screen so much, but the dual SD card slots, I think that's an incredible thing, and I'm really looking forward to that. But the weather sealing on there, the better autofocus, and I actually summed up by saying that I would probably end up getting one, although the slight caveat to that was whether or not I held out for the T2 because of the tilty screen thing. I will wait and see when that comes out, if it's going to have some of the other specs that I consider missing from the X Pro 2, like the 4K video and like the tilty screen, for example. So, well, the tilty screen, I think there's a good chance they're going to keep that. If they take that off, I'll be really pissed off, but I don't think they will because it's a really popular feature on the XT1, so hopefully that will stay. So, you know, these are the things. I put that video out there, you know, fully openly. I wasn't trying to pretend that, you know, this was a review. But it was my opinions, and I genuinely think that, you know, for someone that has used these cameras for doing professional jobs, for someone that's used them in really tough situations, like weddings, for example, where, I mean, Kevin, you'll know better than anybody how important it is to have gear that you trust and how quickly you form an opinion at a wedding about whether or not a camera is right for you or not, because when things are happening in the heat of the moment and you need to change settings very quickly, or you need the autofocus to lock on very quickly, or you need it to perform in low light, or it starts raining outside and you know you need to, or somebody sprays champagne on the camera, you need to trust in that equipment. And so having that experience with the X Pro 1 and the XT1, I just think that, you know, to say to somebody that that is another Fuji customer, because I mean I don't know, Kevin. I mean I don't know if I know Fuji give you sort of long-term or at least short-term review cameras, but I guess you probably buy your cameras too. I mean I think actually in one of the comments after that in the thread, you were talking about buying 2 X Pro 2s potentially when, you know, and as soon as they're available. So I know that you're in the same position as me. You are buying with your money Fuji cameras to do professional work with. And so therefore, what makes your opinion any more valid than mine, or mine any more valid than yours? You know, you would have had an opinion about these cameras before they came out, and it's, you know, it's entirely up to you whether or not you share that. But if you do choose to share that, I think that people would listen to that, because you can say that, look, you know, I work with the X Pro 1, I work with the XT1 and the X100T, and so these are the features on those that I really like when I'm doing my job. If the X Pro 2 comes out and has these features, that'll be something that's really handy. From the spec sheet, I can see that it's missing this feature, which is one of the ones I was really hoping that it would. And I think that's a totally valid thing to say. So that's it. I'm not going to kind of go on massively about this, but I do think, Kevin, that Fuji themselves spend so much of their energies in listening to what their customers have to say. And I think as a Fuji X photographer, it would be nice if you did the same. Rather than telling me that, you know, it's hard for me to have a valid opinion because I haven't tried the camera yet. What about taking another approach to that and saying, you know, well, you know, you haven't tried the camera yet, but, you know, fair play if you wanted 4K on that. It's, you know, I've, you know, been involved with, you know, talking to Fuji about the camera, and, you know, I know that in discussions it just wasn't something that enough people wanted to have, or the technology isn't there yet to be able to make it not overheat like the Sonys do, or, you know, or I don't know either, Matt. I mean, you know, for me it's not a big deal 4K, but, you know, maybe for some people it is, and I respect that. Rather than saying, you know, no, your opinion isn't valid because you haven't tried the camera yet, because you must be getting people all day long, being in the position that you are, asking you about the camera and giving you their opinions on whether or not they think they're going to buy one or not. And if you tell every single one of them that, you know, their opinions aren't valid because they haven't tried the camera yet, you're going to sap sales away from Fuji if you do that to, you know, just the average customer in the street that asks you. I don't think that's a good idea as a Fuji X photographer. You know, you're supposed to be there as an ambassador that is one of the leading photographers, you know, in your field, and has a trusted opinion because you put these cameras to the harshest tests and come out with incredibly good work because of them, and have work that you can showcase that says that these cameras are able to be used at top flight levels. That is a level of responsibility that you have because people trust your opinion because of those things. Okay, so I just think that you need to have a little bit more of a rounded opinion on that. But that being said, Kevin, no hard feelings, mate. I do totally understand that you're trying to protect the philosophy that unless you've tried the camera, you shouldn't really talk about it. I respect that, but I also think that because there are millions of people that are forming their opinions without having tried the cameras, that some of those opinions are valid because they're the opinions ultimately that are going to be the ones that lead to people making purchasing decisions about those cameras. So, and I'm just one of those, customers, ultimately. That's exactly how I'm going to make my decision because I'm just like everybody else. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching. If you've got opinions on this, I'm sure some people will for and again. So leave your comments below and it'd be really interesting to see how this discussion develops. And I'll see you all again soon. Cheers.